Alrighty, folks. One of the things that is very important in my course, Get Your Money Right, is to understand A, what does your life cost? And B, what factor do you need above that to have an amazing life? The one and only Dion says it is 3X, and it blew his mind. So let's figure out what the heck does that mean. All right, Dion, what do you got? Why does 3X blow your mind?
Well, I think there's a miscommunication. It's 3 times cash flow. Cash flow blew my mind.
Okay. Oh, I got you. So 3 times cash flow blew your mind. Okay. All right. Let's do it.
In your investing journey, I'm going to talk about, I'll go over the first one and we'll see if we can round robin this.
Okay.
Times where cash flow had a life-altering effect on at least the way you look at life.
Oh, okay.
And so my very first one was I had got laid off from law enforcement. I was a single parent with 3 kids. I found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name I didn't know existed until the divorce. Mm-hmm. And I started teaching at a CDL school making $17 an hour. So I had a really low income, bad debt, taking care of 3 other humans that counted on me to feed them.
Yeah. Yuck.
So I moved from my house into an apartment and rented out the house. And so many people say, well, that first rent check has to feel amazing. I didn't notice it. Because like Matt talks about, it's reinvest. Every penny that came in went back. After 2 years of saving, so I stabilized that unit. I learned how to be a landlord. I started educating myself. Like the first year was bad. Second year was better. But I saved up enough and I had rental income on 2 years of tax returns. So I was able to buy a duplex. Buying a rental and getting that bit of cash flow that comes with however much you invest in that first one is usually not a lot. But when it's a house hack, when I was paying over $1,500 a month for an apartment and I moved into the side of a duplex and my part of the mortgage that was left was a little under $300.
Yeah.
That had such a massive impact to how much I was able to save that it was even just saving to invest, but I felt it.
Oh,
because
yeah.
At $17 an hour, the amount of overtime that you have to make $1,500, because it's really 17 or 18 because that's post-tax. You need the 1,500.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden only need 300. It was like the world of debt lifted off my shoulders from one move. It was mind-blowing.
I got to agree with you 1,000%. If you're watching this and you're in, $40K of credit card debt, or, you're a single parent and you've got to feed your kids somehow, I want to be very, very clear. There is no better way to get ahead of this than the house hack. I don't give a rat's ass what your excuses are. Stop crying. If you're going to try to fix the problem, house hacking is the ultimate cheat code. And, you're going to get uncomfortable for a little while. So be it. Being broke is uncomfortable too. Dion, Matt, you've obviously done this. The current record holder at 9, soon to be outbitten by Jeff and Saleka. Shout out them, PTO for life. But you got to agree with this. That's got to be one of the first times you really felt cash flow was that first house hack.
It allowed me to move. I couldn't move otherwise.
You could breathe, right? You could just breathe.
It was, I had multifamilies that were making almost nothing because of the great financial crisis. I had gotten married. And I had 2 single family houses, and I told my new wife, I don't think we were married yet, but I told my new wife, I said, we're putting them both on the market. Whichever one rents out first, we're moving to the other one. And I was like, and that's really our only option because they were about the same price. And I said, but I'd set the pricing on the rents higher. So I was like, we can actually make a few $100 a month. So we did that, and we ended up moving, 45 minutes away, and like such is life, way it goes. And so then we finished our first year. And the other girl was still in the other place. And she was like, I really want to be kind of closer to all the stuff we do. And we were kind of tired of driving the 45 minutes each way. Yeah. And I was like, all right, but the only way that we're going to be able to do this is if we move into a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex.
Yeah.
So we searched. And then it was only if we found one that was dilapidated enough that could be fixed up enough. And that's what we ended up finding. And then doing a 403k loan, 203k. Sorry. Yeah. A 203k. So we did the 203k streamline, which is $35,000.
Nice.
And we basically lived in it, did the work while other contractors were coming in. Like we had one room where like this one room's off limits, and it was just basically the bedroom. And I would work out of there, and everything we had was set up there. It was just, we lived life rough for a year, but we finished up that project maybe 7, 8, 9 months later. And the other side, we then move over to the other side as a 4 and a 3. We moved from the 4-bedroom to the 3-bedroom. The 4-bedroom rents out for $1,600 in the first weekend.
Mm.
And I was like, holy cow, I think I'm going to misprice this. And this
Yeah.
was, and this was like in the maybe 2008, I think this was. So we're still going through the great financial crisis. So we rented out, but then I realized I'm like, this is awesome because my entire mortgage is $1,913 a month,
There you go.
$1,913 a month.
You can
So
breathe. Yeah.
I was, $313 and my rent was paid.
Yeah.
So for less than $600 a month, like that's when we were finally able to start doing like dollar menus with a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
Because we had money coming in, but then it put us in a position where had we not done something like that, we never would have been able to pay down the credit card debt.
Oh, you would not be where you are today.
No,
there's just no question. And again, folks, I want to highlight for both these gentlemen, house hacking is the cheat code. If you're stuck in a situation where you can't breathe, you can't expand, go take your second largest expense, X taxes, and take it to near zero. These both guys took it from 1,1600 to 300 or less. It's the cheat code. Stop whining, stop crying. You're already in a shitty position. Get out of it. This is a way. All right, Dion, that's number one time cash flow helped you. What's number two?
Well, the second time that cash flow blew my mind, it was the unseen cash flow.
Oh.
So we focus as investors, because people are looking at replacing income or becoming financially free or having generational wealth. We focus on the numbers that we see.
Yep.
And so it was around the time that my cash flow passed probably $1,000 a month. I think I had 2 duplexes and a house. So I had five rental units, but I was living in one. Okay. Cash flow was a bit over $1,000. But this is when 15% of gross rents, this is what I set aside for future repairs, maintenance, and vacancy, was a recognizable number. It was over $800 a month going into an account that I don't see, that just goes in there. It's just like clockwork. I put aside 15%. Currently today, it's about $5,700 a month that gets put into that account. So it's over $60,000 a year. And my biggest year so far in expenses was like $36,000. That's a year where I replaced a septic system and a roof and a garage door, and it was a big year. So I've never even come close to needing to spend the amount of money that I can set aside for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. But that happened at 5 units at about 4 years of investing, 2 years to save, buy a duplex, 2 years to save to buy a duplex. So I was over 4 years in when I realized this is the first couple of months where the money being set aside for future expenses will probably handle most expenses. Yeah. Like a water heater at that time would be about that much. A garage door was a little bit more, but you have 1 or 2 months without expenses, and all of a sudden that started to pile up. So my mind was blown, because in the first few years, expenses feel like they come directly out of our pocket.
Yeah, they do.
Out of our account. But once you have a few rentals with some cash flow that you have the discipline to continue to set aside until your portfolio gets large enough to where your actual cash flow handles all of your problems, like that's where you get eventually. But in the beginning, it's that money that you have to set aside. And
I had a similar experience. It was a little bit later in my journey. But it's really because Olivia ran the books and I just found deals, right? That was just kind of division of labor, and I didn't care to know about the numbers. But I remember being in Europe. I've told the story a couple of times, and I asked her how much money we need to wire, because again, like you said, when you're doing this, you got to move money from your personal over here. And she told me that we didn't need to. And I was shocked. It was like the first time this ever happened. And I said, didn't we just buy X, Y, and Z? And aren't they in a heavy remodel? And she says, yeah, Michael, but our cash flow is covering everything. I mean, and these were tens of thousands of dollars. And I just remember when I hung up on that call, sitting in my hotel room going, wow, this is crazy. Matt, you had a similar experience?
Yeah. I mean, just the house hacking, and going through that journey. And once you get from the first one to the second one and the second to the third, we got really good at moving. We didn't use cardboard boxes. We just bought 27-gallon black totes from Home Depot, and Walmart. And that's what Dion knows.
We just did that for the first time.
So that's literally what I did. We bought, maybe 60 or 80 of them and just filled them up and then marked the ends. And we would have one room that a bunch of the stuff would go into, and we would kind of live out of 2 or 3 totes.
Yeah.
And it cut down on moving furniture. It cut down on all of this stuff. And it was just like living with essentially no frills. But what you start to realize is that then when you were basically living there for $300 a month, but then when you move out, now all of a sudden you're making $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow, that's 1,500. I think we should do this again. And
rinse
then,
and repeat.
Yeah,
Proof
and then
of concept achieved.
exactly. And then just kind of rinse and repeat. And for those of you who think don't house hack, I don't want to do it, it's not worth the effort, it makes me feel weird. Those properties that I house hacked, it's probably about 6 million worth of property.
Oh, that's all. Just terrible.
I mean, you can choose like,
No,
I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to share walls. Like all the stupid excuses that we hear. Like you're not in an apartment sharing a wall. Like you're not in a duplex sharing a wall. Like you are.
It's just season,
the difference
guys.
is whose name is on the deed.
Yeah,
whose name's on the deed is what matters. And so I think that was just another eye-opening moment for me where it was like, holy cow, now there's really space.
Yeah.
And because I had done the 203K, I'd done roof, I'd done windows, I'd done all the other stuff. So it was a real 15 where I looked at it and I was like, I mean, we'll put a small percentage behind, but everything is brand new. What do we really need left to do in that building? So it was a real 15, not like, 15 minus $500 a month needing to go into a bank account.
A kitty. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, this is a lot of fun. Number 1 and 2 are fire. What do you got for number 3?
The third one, we say it blows your mind. This one blew my mind so much, I actually sat down mid-thought.
Oh, no.
I couldn't stand.
Wow.
And it's probably one of the top contributing reasons to me retiring.
Okay.
In 2022, at the very beginning of the year, I was doing a YouTube video. I was the president of a CDL school. I was running 5 campuses with 60 staff. It was Sunday it was 7:00 at night on a Sunday. I had just finished covering a shift for somebody because I was working 60 plus hours a week, still training so that other guys could have days off for the weekend. And at 7:00 at night on a Sunday, I did a YouTube video. I was in my office, work was done. I had a whiteboard in my office for office work, but I also did some videos in there, right? I broke down my cash flow for YouTube. This is how much I make per day. But let me see if I compared this to if I worked a 40-hour week and had this annual income. How much do I make per hour? And I don't remember the exact numbers. It was something like 400 and something a day or $81 an hour or something like that. But now it's like 7 and 120 or something. But I finished the YouTube video and I was standing there and I was looking at the whiteboard. I was completely done. I was off camera. And I was thinking, I am making 30%-ish more from my rentals that I haven't looked at or been to in months than I am at this job. I'm at 70 hours a week on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yeah.
A shift for someone else. Why am I at work? And then I just kind of flopped down in the chair and it was a couple of weeks later.
Yeah.
That I was out of there.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing when you're in it, you don't really realize how far you've come. And I had this similar moment in 2018, right, when that bad day happened. And I'm like, okay, we're out. And then, you get happy and then you get depressed and then you're like, stop being a little sissy and figure out something else to do. So I love that. Matt, I'm sorry you had a similar experience.
Yeah, I think, the biggest hack after house hacking was finding tenant population that doesn't get rented to. And, I found, I started doing some research, we're close to a college and some of these other things. And I'm like, I had a couple kids from a college in a unit and I'm starting to look and I'm just saying they pay an ungodly amount of money to go to school there and to be on campus. And there's a whole swath of kids, like all the athletes that don't want to be on campus. They don't need to be.
Yep.
That and then the H-1B visa thing. It was really those two key things that I looked at it, and it got me a lot more money per unit. And so, kind of like what Jared in school does, with his units, and sober living, with his and Jeff and Saleka, PTO, with all the work that they do. But it's finding a part of the population that might be underserved that actually still has the money. You just need to think of it differently. People are like, oh, I would never want to have to fill a 5-bedroom. Yeah, because you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're trying to fill it with a family adult. It's not what you do. You fill it with a bunch of college kids, or you fill it with a bunch of, H-1B visa holders. Like there's a bunch of different ways to skin that cat. Now it's understanding what those things are and in your market and what the availability of those things in your market that help dictate what type of assets you should be buying.
Love it.
But that was a huge, like I was, $3,000, $3,000 a month for units that a family wouldn't pay more than 1,900 for or 2,000 for.
Yep.
Because if they had that much money, they'd buy the house.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
So
agreed. All right. This is always a lot of fun, Dion. Sorry for the mess up in the intro, but this was the 3 times cash flow blew our mind. Dion, where can they find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. And for the next few months, driving across the country as the richest homeless person that we know.
There you go. And Matt, where they can find you?
Lumberjack Landlord, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'll answer all your questions about what's going on in my portfolio, but also how I can help you in yours, whether it's something small like a project or something big like, hey, I think I might want to sell one of my assets.
There you go. Guys, you're amazing. Take care. Have a good week.
Thanks, Mike. You too.